your soul is decomposing. Can I am a motherfucking psycho? Damn if I am a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho.
For the flames of conviction, pains and addiction, worst pains of addiction when you're strange to the fiction.
No more humility.
Oh, poor little me, belittle my ability, or riddle me with answers, and riddle me with cancer. The banter between good and evil, it seems. It's nothing but words in the war of action. How could you relax when time is the enemy? Life's a disease and dying is the remedy. I'm not alive, only living to pretend to be. As sinners we move to the music, manipulating melodies, dancing in the devil's dream. Seldom we learn from the mistakes we make. Realize and prove us they're the same, I'm afraid. Or push the good inside in a place to hate. My faith in my faith, but the worst is so sick. But you can't expect change in a world with no sense. Keep breaking down the man in me. No humanity, sanity, abandon me, rid me, derelict, enemy, heretic. Speak my last words backwards in Arabic. Looking up with a gun to my head as I ask the sky what the thunder just said, and my thoughts stay dark like under your bed. They want to give you a halo, call it a gold. They want to give you a hell, call it a home. They want to slave your name, they want to own your bones. They want to sodomize your soul before they swallow a whole. Endless, this is endeavor for the limelight. Will you trade your forever for a lifetime? Ask yourself, are you demon or disciple? And will you burn to earn the title of idol?
So frozen, your soul is decomposing. Can I am a motherfucking psycho? Damn if I am a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho.
Creeping the moment we come
kill him.
I live for the moment, but yeah, we die for the rhythm, and I'm high up
Adrenaline.
like I be pinning with. Couldn't spend a night in the mind I be living and get the minute when I'm rapping like I didn't know what happened. Wasn't raised this way, some change they say. Things that I've imagined, you couldn't even fathom. Most fade and great, ain't made to stay. Savage and passion when I see your neck. Wanna grab it and stab it to help you bleed to death. Fabulous habit, actually maggot. I let it rot to the core like a cavity hazard, and I'm just another bad seed polluting the earth. Motherfuckers pretend to be because the truth it hurts. Crush my enemies, see them driven before me. When the cops come, we all stick to the story. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know who did it. Shit that I be spitting, I should probably be committed. Good golly, got him hidden underneath the floorboards, and I feel I'm unforgiving what the beast got in store for you and the people I hate so, even with a halo. On a mission to kill them, dumb bodies by the payload. I don't really think they wanna go to that place though. Really thought to take them to the sky if you say so. S-C-I-T-O, not pretty but it be home. My city, my town, my throne. Gave gifts, praise you sing some. My filth, my crown, my kingdom. My filth, my crown, my kingdom. Yeah, we know who run the motherfucking S-C-I-C-O.
I know what you are. I feel so frozen. Your soul is decomposing. Can I am a motherfucking psycho? Damn if I am a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho. I'm not a motherfucking psycho.
What up, y'all? Glad to see everyone here tonight for the Power Hour. I'm your host for the evening, Pretzel Elu Black of Pebs FX Customs. And tonight, we have a special Power Hour. I have a special guest. I'm sure he needs no introduction because y'all know him. I'm going to go ahead and try my best anyways. He's the artist known as Gravity Bleeds of Philbrick Studios. Tonight, I have the one and only Brandon Philbrick. Wake up! Wake up!
What's up, fuck faces?
Good to see you tonight, my fellow matchmaker. How are you tonight?
I am most excellent. Thank you for having me, Mr. Black.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight. It's definitely going to be an interesting power hour tonight. It's been a long time coming. This is the first time me and Brandon has done a live feed together. Now, I take it we have met before. We did meet at Astro, the last Astro in August. So I know Brandon is real. He's not actually an animatronic.
There's a real little boy in here.
You have to hit the buttons.
I have to hit buttons? I hit shit.
All right, so let me go ahead and do a few quick shout-outs in the chat because we do have quite a few in here tonight. We got 11 watching us now. 12 keeps going up. Before you know it, we'll have 1 million watching. Yes! So let's see who we have. We had the number one in the chat tonight, the Neck Pisser, coming up from the Murder Mitten. Sup, Neck Pisser? We have Killer Stabbing Cabin OG. We have Mr. Mike Santal. And we have the Zooligan Hermit. I wonder who the Zooligan Hermit is. I have no clue. I've seen the Zooligan Hermit pop up. I have no idea who you are. But you got a fresh-ass fucking name. Ragdoll Hatcher, sup? I see the Zooligan Raider D. Hayes in the house. Sup? Joke Nasty.
That dead bitch Legend D.
So we got some Zooligans up in here tonight with us, Brandon. So let's go ahead and get it started. I'm sure, as everyone knows, me and you are both matchmakers to the great old gods themselves, the almighty Allah Zuli-Lu. So with that being said, let's kick it off with that, Brandon. How did you first come about meeting the Allah Zuli-Lu?
Meeting, like actually having a work conversation?
Yes, a work conversation.
You know, it was after, so when lockdown hit, I painted up some Jason hockey masks and matched them to the House of Crazies vinyl, Twisted, Continuous Evolution of Life's Questions, and the Almighty that I had on vinyl with the spread. And I'd done HOK masks before just for myself for fun. So I put those together, and that was also coming off of Astronomicon. We got to sit through their video shoot. And it was after that, and I created the first kind of book of Zool. But it was just an old man face that I skinned up and glued on the outside of a Bible, and then did kind of a bloody sketch on the inside of it. And had put those out, and that got me a little attention from some Zooligans out there on Instagram. So thank you to you fellas. That caught the attention of Bill. I got a message from Allah Zuli-Lu on Instagram saying, "Hey man, this shit's dope. What would you do for a run of 50?" And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Shit my pants. Like,
you have to reinsert jaw back up.
Yeah. So, and with those, you know, it's like you have to order and get those masks in. And then I was getting them broken, so it was kind of unreliable. Because I'm like, I don't know, let me make a few more first to see what this would take. And it kind of wasn't working out. I wasn't sure what to do and didn't hear back for a while. He didn't really follow up. But I wasn't digging that idea much, and having to, you know, draw and paint every single one of those and ship them in from China and shit and hope that half of them work. So that's when I tried the latex idea. I'd only made the Bango mask before, so I thought, you know, could a latex, you know, Jason style mask be done without being floppy, still kind of hold its form? You know, I'm sure we've all seen the stupid fucking pancakes they make for the kids. That's just a foam pancake with a strap, and it's a Friday the 13th mask. Fucking travesty. But with doing those, so I just gave it a shot. And I fucking wrote up this big message back to him. took these photos and stuff, and yeah, it was funny. I was almost shaking when I was getting ready to send this thing. Like, here's what I made. If you like them, here's the pricing. I think I can do this now, and fucking sent that off to him, and that started the conversation. Got his contact info, and it's like, by the way, this is Bill. Here's my number if you need anything. And so then I, picked up the rest of my brain for a while, and put that shit back together, and figured out how to fucking make 50 masks.
And then the trail started blazing.
And learning all that shit. As I'm sure it's quite a bit different from when the impact of making your first mask to 5 masks, and how, monumental that seems. And then you get to 20 and it's like, holy fuck, 50 is still twice as much as this.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then the mold was wearing out and stuff. And I think that was one of the first times I reached out to you directly, because I wasn't expecting the mold erosion that fast, especially with how thick they were, so that was eating it up, that much quicker.
Well, now, for your molds, do you use the pottery plaster, USG?
Nope, I use the USG #1 pottery plaster.
I've went back to using the USG. I was using the hydrocal for a while, because they say the hydrocal allows the mask to dry faster, and it's overall better, but it is more money. So I would just rather sacrifice, and after I get done with the run of masks, go ahead and get rid of the molds and have cheaper plaster.
Yeah, and I was sampling them too, and I was running one side by side, and they seem to kind of be doing the same thing. The hydrocal is a lot heavier though, for even the same size, so that was another issue. So yeah, I went back and just settled on the pottery plaster.
Because that's something that a lot of people don't realize either, is that when you have multiple molds rolling at once, that's a lot to, have to swish them molds, work with all them molds. It's like, it's a lot of moving, it's a lot of picking up, and it's a lot, and like you said, once you hit that 50 range and then you start going up from there, even, it's like, wow.
Yeah, and the space involved, all the tables and shelves, and I have 3 almost pool table length tables. Well, one is a bumper pool table with a plywood board. Then there's a coffee table or a kitchen table, and then I have a bar top, and then some folding tables and shit, just to get all that space. And yeah, with lifting all the shit back and forth, that's the only way I work out. It's mosh pitting with y'all at the concerts, for the Zulilus and such. And when it gets hot out, I'll carry my shit out to the garage to dry. So I'm up the stairs and out the garage holding molds over my head, and that's about all I do. But I'm just warning you for the motherfuckers that want to fuck with me. Hambrocious. Pisser. Just kidding.
You hear that, pisser? You better watch out.
I forgot what the fuck. Anyway, I had a good name for him. We'll go back to that one. Pisser.
So let me ask you this: being one of the matchmakers to the old gods, has it changed your outlook on things? Since you started this, how has it affected you?
By literally changing my entire life and focus of what I do. So when I was going to get into horror art, I was thinking clay mask, and I like customizing my own masks and things, but I hadn't considered, up until that point, of turning my clay sculptures into latex creations. And you were one of the first to inspire me to that. I found you and thought you were doing the mask before I realized Tom was out there doing it, because I'd see your paint jobs more and more. And that was, so cool to get that effect, to realize you can make your own canvases, and do a paint job on every single one of these. And because I was putting so much work into some of these clay sculptures, like I showed you this thing, it gets fired in a kiln, and it's a big rock, and this is the only one that exists. So to have that reproduce during lockdown, because I couldn't go to conventions and things, So it opened up that door to still sculpt, still continue with that plan, but do it locked in my basement without having to travel to conventions and things like that. And then that opened up the door for the Zooligan audience to become aware of me, you know, getting those tags and recognition and whatnot. So from that exposure of reconnecting in a very deep way with the Zooligan community, because I'm an old school juggalo, you know, like late 90s, fucking ICP, First Gathering, all that shit. So I was there feeling that love back in the day, you know, crying at those concerts. Like I finally found a place where I belong, you know, and I had never, you know, felt that before. And then it's shit 20 years later with AXC and, you know, reigniting that passion and that connection, getting out there with the community and meeting people. So there was that whole aspect as well. And then, like I said, the mass production, the difference in mentality and how to execute something like that, and the discipline involved, you know, and trying to set up those systems and build the studio space. So it's transformed, you know, my internal, my external world, and my physical environment here as well, you know. And I think that's the power of fucking amazing music, you know, and not just the opportunity, but opening those doors, being so cinematic and creating these different worlds. Like when I was getting into AXD, it was almost annoying. I know it was annoying to others how obsessive it became, you know, as it continued to grow and to find, you know, a band that you can listen to months and months on end nonstop. So that was just soaking in, and I was doing paintings and, you know, drawings and shit like that at the time. And so
I have to agree. I have to agree with all that, Brandon. You know, it was life changing for me as well. I was in the underground for a long time. You know, like you since the '90s, and it's like I always knew that there was a spot for me somewhere in the underground. You know, beyond being just a fan of it. You know, but I always had that feeling. You know, like, hey, you know, this is destined to become something. And then all it took was, you know, opening my ears and hearing the boys. And like you said, it was almost like an obsession at first. You know, it's like you find something new and it's really fucking fresh and you're just like, ugh, you know. That's how I was. You know, I had to find out everything about the Ala Zulu. I had to go back and hear their whole catalog. And then I picked up the paintbrush and the mask for the first time. I had never previously painted a mask until I got a hold of a Skinner and painted it.
So when was your first direct connection with them?
My first direct connection was at Attack of the Ninjas in Kokomo, Indiana, when the Almighty released.
Okay.
Yeah, I went, me and my wife went, and we did the VIP session, and I went and actually met them for the first time and actually seen them perform for the first time as well. Because I'd actually seen them years earlier perform with Twisted, but I had no clue who they was. You know, I'd seen them standing outside the venue. I seen Joe Black, got scared of them. It's weird how fate comes back around. You know what I'm saying? It's like it come full circle. It was like, hey, you didn't find the guys this time, but the second time around, you're definitely going to find them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was after that release, and I first saw them live as well. And even when I, you know, started listening to them just a few months before that, but it was that record. And I was at Fright Fest in Minneapolis with Twisted. And they were wearing the, you know, these masks, and then another guy next to me that was freaking out, and he was wearing one. And I'm like, holy shit, you can buy those? Like, where'd you get that fucking mask? He's like, they're selling them at the merch booth right here. Like, no fucking way. And then that they had zombie dudes on stage, you know, strutting around. It was more than just, you know, the three guys standing there rapping, and that whole show aspect. So that really helped, you know, ignite that passion and interest, you know, as well.
And something else that was cool is that, you know, the I had a Skinner previous to me getting my first Forever Face from Long Live Evil. My Horned was the first one that I got with the pre-order of the album. But I had hold of a Skinner. And I'm sure, as you know, the Skinners have a little latex smell to them, but not like a freshly poured latex mask. When I first got my Horned and I took it out and I smelled it, that's what got me too, was the smell of the mask. I was like, this is one of the most loveliest smells I've ever smelled in my life. And that kind of got me hooked on the mask too.
Nice, yeah.
Yes, I am a weirdo. I like to smell latex. I don't like fresh latex, but after it's poured and cured, it smells pretty damn good.
Fucking A. People that's I think Billy Spires, like, I don't know what you're doing to your mask, man, but they just sell great or smell great. And I'm like, well, I always rub one out on yours first before I send them to you, man.
So yeah, Brandon, tell us a little bit about your own mask line. I know that I've seen that you have some new stuff that come out this year, and you have a story that's evolving with the mask. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Yeah, so starting with first creation started with the Bengal Skank character. So I had a what the fuck was it? Like one of the only good clown masks from Spirit Halloween years and years ago. And I had been customizing that. But before that, I was cutting up like old man, old lady faces and painting them up like clowns and creating that character. And then I found the clown mask that I really liked, and I just continued to evolve this character. But I was never really happy with the mask that I was creating. I'm like, I want to take this and make it more fit to me. So even if I'm, never making masks professionally, I wanted to make my own characters. And I'd been fascinated with the Bango Skank Was Here graffiti that shows up all throughout the Stephen King Dark Tower series. And then that's connected to this Peter Straub book, but they don't explain it there either. It's just another graffiti that's there. So that was the idea of I'm going to be, and my love for clowns as well, and saying I'm going to take this Bengal Skank character, making this interdimensional cannibal clown type deal, and continue to build this character out and then see what he can do. And then I got my hands on the Bloody Johnny story and getting all fucked up with people reading that. And it's just, it's hilarious in how obscene it is, because it was written by a 12-year-old child, not me. And can't really say, but people know. But the person who created it does not want their name attached to it, because he talks about like killing lesbies and retards and all kinds of shit like that. Like, for these days, it's not PC, but it's pretty funny to, get a glimpse into the twisted mind of a child being influenced by horror and rap music in his early days. And I've always loved that story. Thought it was fucking hilarious. So I was able to get that from him, and I've written little things here and there. I just love the power of storytelling and wanting to do something different. So as I was developing these different clown characters, thinking how they could interact. When I took it to this year, trying to do the Tales from the Bricks concept and how these things can overlap. Because like the Necromancer character, you find out later is the guy who cast a spell on Bloody Johnny that turned him into a killer. So I've been working on kind of the Necromancer story, this Bloody Johnny, and the Bango Skank thing, and thinking of what could happen and how these different characters and crossover and shit, like creating a Loki MCU kind of deal at the most very basic, lamest, sickest level. Nothing that in depth, but and these things inspire me. Those different stories have inspired creations, like AXE's music does. So getting those cinematics to attach those visuals to, that's what created that. So then this year, as I've been outlining those elements of the stories, wanting to create these new characters to unleash and help tell the story, to make it more than a mask, to making these characters, how you could build this character line and then get different pieces of the story, with each one and have them start to piece together. And, ultimately someday the dream, even since I was fucking little kid, was to create a comic book of some sort. I've never done it, never gotten close, but these concepts and, having these multi-layered things, that one thing becomes, bigger than it. And that's what we learned, psychopathic and ICP, of telling those stories and getting the pendulum, putting the pendulum together back in the day, and then the toys that went with it and shit. Those were the things that really attracted me. I like ideas that have more than one layer and have a lot of depth to them. So I want to try to bring that back to my work and inspire new creations with some substance to them.
That's dope. Now the Zealot, was the Zealot a part of that, or was it just an offshoot?
The Zealot was a thing just for the boys. For AXC, talking with Rick Moll, just like, hey, you want to take your shot at a Forever Face? And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, the ones they're going to wear? No, just yours, that you would think. And, fuck yeah. And that was before Astro, the second year. Then, right before this last one. Wanted to get something out to them. Before that, just saying, working on, again, it's kind of starting with a story, though. So, Zealot being that unrelenting believer, right? And thinking of that guy who's wearing his Forever Face forever and never takes it off. And it started, and his face is rotted away, and he's still just wearing his mask that's becoming part of him. So that's what I was trying to work with there, of like the skull to the mask, still kind of working with the shape of the smile, some of those elements of the 2.1, but really just wanting to make it my own as well. And it really wasn't going to go anywhere at first. It was kind of like, hey, what'd you think of that? And like, well, we'd like to change some things. And I was like, well, what if we just do, 12, like the 12 apostles of sort, and just release those so I could show you how I was envisioning a few of these different color schemes and whatnot. So that was able to get that, some legs underneath it. So that was my first attempt, if I was to apply that concept and try to, take the Forever Face idea and make it my own. That was my first try.
Nice. Yeah, I like the religious aspect to it. It's very nice.
And that seems like it could be one of us, right? Like,
right?
Especially through the pandemic era of just sitting there, just listening to all the records on repeat, just fucking rotting away. And that's a trick to wearing your mask for a long time too, right? Just never take it off. If you get a little breath of air, then you're going to want more air. Just fucking let that shit ride.
Very nice. Yeah, you speaking about, incorporating elements of the 2.1 into it. And, when you're tasked to do a new face like that, you of course want to have elements of the Forever Face in it, so it looks like a Forever Face. I feel that. I can tell you one mask that I've seen that I'm gonna probably take some elements from is the new Texas Chainsaw mask. I do like how the ear pulls up around the ear and can kind of loop around the ear. I thought that's a really dope concept. I just like the pulled skin in general, because you got to think, if you put a face on and you're gonna pull it, so it's gonna have some stretch to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought right after that movie, I wanted to come home and recreate that as well, but didn't get to it. Yeah, it's pretty fucking wicked.
Yeah, I've seen some good ones that's already been done, that matchmakers have already done. They're pretty much carbon copies. There's a few that look a little sort of different, but
which is always a good practice, right? Like that's what I was trying to do with the Crypt Keeper, call him the Keeper that I made. Still wanted to have this storyteller. But Tales from the Crypt is my favorite TV show of all time, and Creep Show being my favorite movie. So on that same vein, And obviously, first the Forever Face 13th combination of two ideas wasn't for Tom. I steal Tom's idea, take that other idea, mash them together, make it something new, and other things is like referencing, but still wanting to make it my own. And there's kind of a beauty to making things that don't look like things, because then you can just say, well, I wanted it to look that way. But when you're making something, trying to replicate something else that exists that can be compared, I think that's a lot more challenging in a way, and more stressful. So the keeper being an experiment in referencing, a character and trying to create them, and then having the challenge of how to fit it, wanting to do kind of a full head without a strap, but not, the whole head and cover the neck and shit, and figure out the sizing for that. And fucking sizing, being such a bitch as well. Like, and I wasn't copying, making master copies and doing that and understanding the shrinkage there at first. So this was another one where I'm going to make this as big as possible. And if it's too big, I can just, keep making master copies and shrinking it down to find that right size.
Yep.
So,
that thing that I learned too, you gotta sculpt big.
And fucking, to making the copies, which I was unaware of. But I think, when you say, what do you learn? That's another one of those challenges of going through. And I wasn't making master copies with FF13. So when that mold was running out, I was just sculpting another one. So that's how the breakdown is kind of funky between the runs, because I was sculpting each time. I didn't make a copy till, I think, the part 4 or 5 that I sculpted. 4 with the green one and the new vein on the brain, and doing that. But I think that was good because it got me that extra practice of sculpting and evolving that look and trying different things, and helped me learn and get better faster. And not be stuck with that first one as well when I wasn't. It was good. It was a great mask. I like them, but not as good as I think they could or should have been. So I like going through that evolution. As much as it panicked me and set me back, I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna do now? I was like, hey man, do you do any mold repair or like maintenance? Is there a way I can like skin it or something so it's not wearing out so fast? And it's gonna happen, man. I'm like, well, I guess I'm sculpting one.
Yeah, my molds before, I pulled masks so quickly, one after another, dried them just enough where I can get them out, that the molds started like changing color on the bottom, and then also they started leaking a thick like water latex, because you got to think the mold is pulling the moisture out of the latex, so that it's got to go somewhere. Have you had that happen to you before?
No, I've never pushed it that hard because I fucked a few up when I've tried that. How I pulled it out and like one piece would get distorted and it would kind of get pulled out a little bit and stay that way later. Eventually, I ended up like recycling those. So those were kind of some of the cut up ones and one-offs and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I tried to stay away from that. And the fucking FF13s with all the holes, so each one of those being a peg, so those would grab and pull out. So that I think if it was, a little smoother, I could have pulled them out a little sooner and not have as much of that distortion. But no, I think you're fucking insane for doing that, because I fucked so many up trying to rush.
Well, it was a lot of trial and error of figuring out the sweet spot about when you can actually pull it. My sweet spot is normally, as long as I got good heavy fans on them, 2 hours. I'll let it sit, and then that's just good enough to where it's not going to distort. Everything is dry. It's still kind of you can still kind of squishy, but it won't distort for me after 2 hours. So. But I've ran my molds before, bro. Like I said, they would be dripping a substance that was like water and latex, and it would the molds turn yellow. It's crazy.
Yeah, I got some yellow, fucked up looking molds. Some of those first ones, it's wild.
So yeah, I'm sure that the Zooligans are definitely looking forward to what you got coming this year as far as the masks go, Brendan. So with that being said, let's go ahead and segue into our next segment, which I'm excited to talk to you about. Let's talk movies. So with that being said, Brandon, can you tell me what horror movie was most influential on you when you was younger, when you was coming up? Let's say anytime between the ages of like 6 and a teenager. what movie do you remember seeing that really stuck with you throughout the years?
I think I have to go with It, although the original, of course. No, it took me a while to see, but when I was real little, when that first came out, my parents, they'd go to a friend's house and we'd play with the other kids, and they'd make sure we couldn't go in the room. And you can't come in here. We're watching this scary movie. So that made me want to see it even more, right? So that kind of sparked the Stephen King, interest, as well as with clowns. It was a while before I really got into it, because some of the first memories were more with Hellraiser and Candyman. Candyman fucking scaring the hell out of me, because I was probably 10. I watched it alone, sitting in front of the TV, with a whole empty space behind me. And when he starts talking in that voice, fuck, so that one stuck with me. But yeah, my parents were partiers, and so they were gone. They'd go on bike runs and shit, to Sturgis and stuff like that. And we'd do kind of whatever. The video store and theater knew our parents didn't give a shit, so we'd go and rent and do all the R-rated things. And my uncle likes to tell the story how he showed up. This is my mom's youngest brother, and he showed up at the house when we were there alone. And he's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" Like, "Just watching a movie." "Yeah, what are you watching?" "Hellraiser 2.
Nice.
He's like, "I don't even watch that shit,"
Speaking of it, I can remember when it first come out, and it come on ABC, and it was a week-long thing where they broke it up and you had to watch one episode throughout the week. And I remember being scared, it leading up to that last chapter there, with him turning into the spider. I can genuinely remember being scared of that spider.
Right? Yeah, people used to hate on that shit, and the ending, it's a big spider. It's like, no, the fucking spider is awesome. And like, what better ending do you got, motherfucker, That's what I'd say. But yeah, and the first time, like, eating kids, and killing kids, that it was that kind of dominant in something at that time. That was mainstream of sort. Like you said, being on ABC and primetime television, and this fucking clown is eating and killing kids. Like, ooh.
Yep. I have to say, probably the most influential horror movie on me that stuck with me throughout the years was probably George Romero's Day of the Dead.
That's my favorite of the series as well.
That movie traumatized me when I was young. I can remember seeing it and then having waking nightmares as a child, thinking that these zombies were coming for me.
Oh, shit. Dude, Pet Sematary is another one that is just the images, and Salem's Lot again. Fucking Salem's Lot, the kid scratching at the window, floating there, that image. I think, some reason you glanced at it as a kid, and that was burned into my mind for vampire movies, and the scariest vampires ever were their fucking Master Barlow, and that was not even knowing, till you go through teenage, you don't see this old ass, series again, and not really knowing what it is. It's like, holy shit, that was from that. So between that and then fucking Pet Sematary being seared into my mind, so many parts of that, especially Zelda. Like, where the fuck's that coming from? Never get out of bed again. God damn.
So let me ask you this, Brandon. Now, this is something that happened to me as I was coming up, because I developed a love for horror movies. I mean, it was like I had to see everything horror. The older I got, the more I wanted to see horror. So what happened with me is that once I became a teenager and I could get out to like the DVD stores, say like Best Buy and things like that, I started branching out into like international horror. Italian, Peter Jackson's early stuff from over in New Zealand, I really started branching out in the horror to see what was out there. And I take it, is this something that you've done too? You branched out into the all the other horror too?
It was a bit slower. I was born and bred in such a small city with a couple video stores, like so it was limited to that. There wasn't Italian horror and that, and but I started to buy all the VHS when they were going out, and House of Crazies, actually discovering them right around the times after Twisted and their samples and wanting to find their samples, that sent me hunting a lot of other shit as well.
Children shouldn't play with dead things.
And it was rare because we'd have to go 30 or 75 miles away to St. Cloud where I am now to go to a Best Buy and get anything like that. But I'd have a few like Fulci's Zombie 2. I got that with the silver deluxe case, not having any clue, what it was. But that was one of the first thing, and I've kind of tapped out the horror that I have access to here. I have no idea about this one, and then starting to sample and get into some more of that shit. Yeah, not so much in Italian horror till last 10, 15 years or so. But as a kid, it was more discovering the classics and really digging in. And when I watch, get into something, I'll watch it a lot. And building collections as well. So that sparked it with the Stephen King collection where I got into the books and then all of his movies. And then it's VHS. And then it's getting the DVDs to have both, and then the Blu-rays and which new ones are coming out and which ones are referenced. And, okay, I need to find this horror classic and kind of building those. Because I would start with my collection, as well, and wanting to build that as opposed to just one-off watching things and, tossing them.
With me, I had already seen all the classic stuff, all the stuff you find in the rental stores and things like that. My parents used to take me to the drive-in theater when I was younger, and I seen quite a few of the classics as they come out during the 80s. So, like I said, it wasn't until I was older that I started deep diving into horror and trying to find the more obscure stuff. I'm trying to think. There's one out there, I think it's called Bowling Pins or Bowling Ball, not bowling balls, but bowling pins or something like that. It's about like a murderer at a bowling alley. And that's a real obscure one. Like you said, the Italian horror I really got into. Fulci, Bava, and there was several others too. And it was just like, wow, I just opened up new doors to horror, once I started really taking that deep dive into it.
Fuck yeah. And yeah, being able to drive and go to stores and things like that really open shit up. And then internet, of course, obviously. But before that, I didn't even know about Joe Bob. We didn't have cable or none of that. Lucky to get see Tales from the Crypt. Remember when HBO would give you a free trial for a weekend? And all of a sudden for us, Channel 2, and it's like, oh shit, there's something there. Guess we're not leaving this weekend. We got free HBO, bitches.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, now with that being said about the old school stuff, what do you think about the current state of horror movies?
I think it's finally coming back, and we're having a good solid resurgence. And I love the new shit. The It remake, and even though Halloween Kills, fucking fantastic. Chainsaw we were talking about, and I like digging into that. It's more of the teeny horror, and that was what was ruining horror in the mid '90s. It kind of turned me away from it, right? With The Ring, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend. There was all that shit where it's all pretty people and a slasher coming through, and then kind of through the 2000s fading off a bit, but I'm getting back into it. And Mandy, Color Out of Space, the Cage shit, when it's edgy and new and original and just the unique ideas. That's what I really like, when it's a a new concept that's out there and just embracing that new concept. I don't like the thriller shit, thriller they say, which to me means nothing actually happens until one stupid thing at the end usually. So I don't know so much about those.
Yeah, I agree. I think that horror's on an uptick now. It's like you said, there for a while we just went into a dud phase. There was a couple, like, I kind of dig the Final Destination movies, and I'm sure that there's some peppered out through there. One would be Bubba Hotep. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that before.
Oh yeah.
I love Bubba Hotep, bro. Yeah, there was some gems that come out, but for the most part, as far as like mainstream, it was just like I didn't dig the Scream movies either. You know what I'm saying? I could never get into it, or I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was just not for me. With me growing up on stuff like Sam Raimi and George Romero and things like that, it was just like this new stuff was just like it was so soft.
Yeah. And I fucking love like monster movies and the creature features and stuff. So The Void, Psycho Gorman, the stuff Kostansky is doing. Even did you see his first flick? They say made for like $2,000. God damn it. Anyway, it's fucking good for how it's made and how cheap it was, because it's all practical effects, and they're just building everything that's there, all the physical stuff, and it's in that reality of the practical effects that is a piece that's so inspiring for my own art. And pausing something on fucking Mars. Anyway, the different monster movies that freeze an image, up there as a fucking alien or something, and then try to sketch and draw that, or a head exploding, or the first time seeing a head cut off. Like Creepers, by the way, talking about Italian horror. Creepers?
I think I saw Creepers. Yep.
I think it's also called Phenomena. The Italians with always Argento and them changing different names, and American versus Italian release and whatnot. But like that shit was wild. Yeah, nobody's out there seen that. Then it got a monkey, fucking kills a bitch with a straight razor, head gets cut off. There's a little monster kid that she summons all the bugs to come and eat them and kill them and shit. It's like this weird, trippy movie with Motorhead and Iron Maiden playing at this girls' school. Dr. Loomis is there, and he's supposed to be Scottish, but he never has a Scottish accent. But that's a fucked up one towards the end, that he freeze framing watching that decapitation and shit.
I take it. I do like other genres of movies, but it's like there for a long time I was just on a gore kick. I wanted to find the goriest stuff that I could find in movies. And that's why I am where I am now. It's because of my love for gore and the really scary stuff. With that being said, I think that Peter Jackson and his company is probably one of the ones that I look to for inspiration. With what he done with his early films, Bad Taste, what was the other one he done? Supposedly one of the goriest flicks of all time.
I was going to ask you what that was, and assume you'd say Dead Alive.
Dead Alive, yes.
Yeah.
It's like what he done with those movies and his practical effects was genius. That's what helped catapult him into doing Lord of the Rings and other big movies.
Right. Yeah, Dead Alive. It took me a while. I was mid-20s or something before I found that. And even the first time, not really paying attention and things kind of boring, low quality, weird audio and shit. If you're not adapted to old school foreign indie films, it can be tough to get into. But then with the fucking rat monkey and the gore is some of the most creative and ambitious that's out there. That's something I look for that I love. I love ambition in films, right? Like if you were to explain it, you couldn't even write, all the shit that's happening as fast as it's happening. And it seemed like horror movies that get lazy like not showing the kill. Oh, it's scarier if we leave it up to the viewer's imagination. Fuck you. You're being fucking lazy and just trying to cut out all the good shit because it takes all this time to put together these effects. And yeah, Dead Alive be like, I don't give a fuck. There's gonna be a bitch twitching with a lamp in her head over here, and this dude's getting cut up with the lawnmower over here, and they're twitching, there's fucking blood shooting up here, and then the baby shoots through the wall, and it's fucking spinning, and guts are flying, and there's a giant naked grandma monster.
Yeah. He utilized something called black humor in his films, and that's something that I would seek out too in horror films, was black humor. I love black humor.
Oh, I would call them like Gore tunes. Like, it's like cartoons that are, just so fucking gory, they're ridiculous. And if something flies off and flies into somebody's face, like that kind of helps define it. Like the Evil Dead and Dead Alive, creep show type stuff, where it's the monsters but the fun and the crazy lighting and shit like that. 'Cause I don't like a lot of the really serious stuff. I've never seen a Serbian film, and I never will. I've seen the Hostel movies, and they're fine for what they are. It's just not fun. I want a little bit of fun with them. Killer
Yeah, I took a small dive into that stuff. I've never seen a Serbian film. I think I might have seen a scene from it or something like that, and I was like, no, this is not for me. There's one out there that I almost got. It's called Salo. It's actually called 180 Days of Sodomy. That's one that's talked about a lot on the underground circuit, but I've never seen it.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting to peep that one. I have it available. Buddies, if you guys used to do this Friday night thing called the Scumfuck Society, and it's basically like Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, right? But we'd pick our films, and it was the one thing we'd kind of, start doing as the, pandemic was breaking and lockdowns were breaking and shit. And I've been digging into those, and I've thought of that. They eat shit in that.
Yes, poop eaters.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like some intense metaphor on society or some shit like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'll maybe watch this to fuck up the rest of the guys' nights, but I'm not watching this myself.
I'll tell you another rabbit hole that I went down was, I can remember when I was younger watching Faces of Death and thinking, wow, this is the real deal here. This is the real stuff. And which I've heard, all kinds of stuff where it was set up, or some of it was real, some of it wasn't. But years later, me and my father, because my father was a big horror hound too, and he turned me on to a series called Banned from Television. And Banned from Television was a series of videos collected from around the world, from over in Iraq and things like that. They showed like really horrendous shit. And I remember seeing that, and it traumatized me too for the first time. I was like, wow, this is the real fucking deal. This is people dying. And so, I don't delve into that anymore. I've seen it. It's like once I've seen it, I was like, I'm done with it. I like a plot line in my horror. I like over the top black humor and all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really into the real gore.
Yeah, right. Same here. And yeah, it's there, but have a little bit of fun with it. That's all I'm saying. You're totally sucking the fun and life out of everything, and it's just constantly driving you down, and just death and despair and darkness. That's I'll stay there if I get sucked down too far into that shit. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and that's as me and you was talking earlier. That's something that I really don't like about social media, is that at any point you could go on Facebook and uncover a video and see some shit like that. It's like case in point. I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago. They showed the video of the kid falling from the power tower ride and literally hitting the concrete. And the video went viral. There's things like that pop up all the time on Facebook, and it's just like, why? It's like Facebook will come at you for saying a word that they don't think is appropriate, but then they let these viral videos go of people dying. It's like Zuckerberg is crazy.
It's like my mom watching ID channel and shit like that nonstop. And she thinks my shit is just ridiculous and gross and terrible. It's like, this is fake. This isn't real. Your shit's real. I just saw a real picture of a naked dead bitch with her panties around her ankles in the ditch. And you're telling me I'm sick because I watched a monster rip a guy's latex head off, and spray a bunch of fake blood everywhere? Like, that's fucking hilarious. You're the sick and twisted one, Mom.
Oh, and one we can't forget to talk about when we're talking about special effects is the team over at Troma. Lloyd Kaufman and his team. They've done a lot for the practical effects and special effects. So shout out to motherfucking Lloyd Kaufman, still out there doing the damn thing with Troma.
Fucking A. I've been working my way through the Return to Nukem High flicks again, and I think cutting all the mouths out of the 8-leg masks. And I'll send those with. You can have a bunch of little mouths. We can glue them on our tits and stomach and turn into subhumanoids, just like in Return to Nukem High.
Hey, check it out. The dwellers have a mouth in them that I cut out, lips, and we used to send the lips out with the dwellers. So I know there's quite a few pair of lips out there that Zooligans got.
Pair of lips. Gonna have your lips. You got Pretzel's lips. You got my hands. You got 8-legs fake mouth. I mean, eventually we're gonna be able to build a whole person.
Getting weird.
Dude, I kind of scared myself with that once. I found this like a upper torso body mold of a woman, with the nips and everything, like a garage sale. And I'd set that down, and I had a severed hand and my fleshy looking Dawn of the Dead mask. And I was just setting all these body parts out on my bed one day to see what it looked like. And then I left it there. And I came back like an hour later, walking into my bedroom, and it's kind of like, what the? Oh, at first, like, who's in the bed? Then it's like, what the fuck is that? And like, oh, I did that. So I scare myself sometimes. And that's fucking great.
All right, so now let's transition into our next segment, Brandon. Let's talk about music. Tell me this: besides for the usual suspects, in the underground, is there anybody else? Is there any other type of music that you listen to?
Oh yeah, I'm the newest one that's hooked me is the new Zeal and Ardor album. So it's kind of like the slave chants mixed with metal. And if they turned away from God not helping them and, went to the devil to have the hymn help. And so it creates very unique sound. And it'll have melodic elements and some electronic elements. And then just some rhythmic kind of chanting. But then get into the real fucking, hardcore metal shit as well. So, yeah, I love that. As much people think I'm a metal guy. And, with those guys, Slipknot, Slayer, Black Label Society, I fucking really like Typo Negative. So even that older shit, goth shit. Other than that, I'm a big gangster rap guy. West Coast gangster rap in the 90s was one of the first things that really fucked me up before horror even got to me. And that was part of, I don't know, whatever attracted us to those things, like gangster rap, horror movies, Mortal Kombat, anything that was saying some shit, showing some shit, doing some shit that they weren't supposed to be doing and never heard of before. Like, those were the things that really, pulled me and my brother and my older brother kind of, helps lead a lot of this stuff. And I still go back to that, man. Spice One, Mac 10, Ice Cube, Snoop.
Too Short.
These guys used to have a few dark songs in their albums. Bone Thugs and Harmony was actually one of these first CDs that I owned myself that my brother didn't have. And it was those dark tracks that were some of my favorites of all time. And Spice One, fucking hardcore shit too. You know, lines like I'm gonna chuck a dead body on your motherfucking lawn. You know, shit like that. God damn. Rolling with a fucking dead bitch beside me. And it was those kinds of things that helped kind of lead me more into the dark music. And Bone Thugs and Harmony was the first group I was really fanatic about. And I tried to get everything that they were on. And that led to getting the Great White Hype soundtrack because it had Shoot 'em Up on it. But that had ICP Chicken Hunting on it, which is played just, for a few seconds in the background when they go to this club. But that was the first time hearing ICP and visualizing actually them killing chickens and stuff and thinking it was ridiculous, yet one of the funniest things I'd ever fucking heard. So Bone and their darkness pulled me in and kind of pulled me over to ICP and opened up that realm, with Psychopathic and digging into that. So in the mid to late 90s. So much to gangster rap. And even, East Coast stuff and the hip-hoppy shit, I didn't fuck with a lot back then. I wasn't hip-hop, I was gangster rap, and then it was metal. Getting into Mushroom Head, Slipknot, Dope, and kind of going down that path as well. That's what the foundation.
For me, it was weird when I first started listening to music. I was listening to things such as Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Nirvana, Metallica, Pantera, Alice in Chains. These were all things that like people at my school were listening to, and it was coming on MTV, and it was, the hot stuff at the time. It wasn't until I actually met a group of friends in middle school who turned me on to ICP that I first started listening to, that type of rap. And then I started branching out from there, listening to Esham, listening to Too Short, things like that. But at first it wasn't about, any kind of underground music or anything. It was all mainstream, like I said, Nirvana. I was listening to Primus. So these are things that I still listen to nowadays. It's just that I'm not hooked on them.
And I think, first music I enjoyed is from my parents' record collection. And AC/DC, Back in Black, they had Guns N' Roses. And they'd have some, they had some of the poppier shit of the 80s too, like the Cars, and fucking REO Speedwagon. They had a lot of REO Speedwagon. But fucking even Guns N' Roses, that album stood out to us just because they were saying some, really crazy, edgy shit that we hadn't heard in other places before.
I could tell you, I probably listened to November Rain 100 times or more.
Dude, and I don't know if these other younger guys still listen to that shit, so I sent my Michelle over to, Hambropus. And because his wife's name was, I was like, you ever play this for? I'm like, but be careful in case, because it starts out, your daddy works in porno because your mama's not around. She used to love the heroin. Now she's 6 feet on the ground. It's like, okay, I hope her dad doesn't work in porno and have a dead mom, because then don't play this. But if her name's just Michelle, then play it and just go for it, But like, that's some crazy shit that they were saying back then,
Yeah, it was crazy. Another one I used to listen to, which he's actually still around, it was Green Jello. Green Jelly, not really sure which one. He was a Jello or a Jelly. But that Three Little Pigs song, and then the video that come on MTV was hot.
Oh, yeah.
So I went out and bought the album to it. I had that album. I would listen to Shitman. They had the Misadventures of Shitman on that album. All kinds of crazy stuff. So, I'm glad to see that Green Jelly is still out there, at least trying to still do it.
Oh, man. I have a crazy dream Green Jelly concert experience, because they came here. Well, it's Sauk Rapids, just right across the river. And a bunch of my friends, even my mom was down, I believe, for that one. And, we're like, this group from the 90s. And this was maybe 10, 12 years ago or something. So way past their prime. But it was so fucking cool because they're still with the big paper mache heads and stuff. And they started letting everybody go on stage and put on the heads. The joke like, hey, here's hepatitis for you, to be a little fucked up, and want to put the head on and be crazy, and then you just get that stench of the 10 years of freaks wearing this paper mache head on their heads, But and then we just got fucking just wild through that. I ended up getting knocked on my ass, bruised my tailbone. That hurt when I coughed or sneezed for like 3 months after that. But they kicked us off the stage, so the dude had us pull a table out so he could stand on this table in the middle of the crowd, and we were fucking freaking out around him. And yeah, for only having and loving that one Green Jelly CD, that concert was one of the best concert experiences I ever had, man.
Nice.
Fucking
But
wild.
speaking of a band like that, it was in 1998. It was my second Hallowicked that I was going to, up at Harpo's up in Detroit. And I knew ICP was playing. There was a band called Gore that I'd never heard of that was playing. And there was also a band called Twisted that I'd never heard of up to that point that was playing. So, I'm ready to go into Harpo's. We get in there, and I've been drinking. And here comes Gore. Oh, my God. It was one of the most insane things that I've ever witnessed and been a part of in a mosh pit, getting sprayed down and all that. And what's crazy is that years later, I was at a horror convention up in Indiana. I was at I think Days of the Dead or Whorehound, one of them, and actually got to meet Dave Brocky, R.I.P. Dave Brocky, before he passed away. So yeah, shout out to Gore. I see they're still out there trying to do the damn thing, keep Dave Brocky's vision alive. So
fuck yeah. They're one I still haven't. I missed my last opportunity. I had a close buddy that went just this last year, and just couldn't make it happen. But yeah, they're still throwing bitches in the meat grinder and coming and splashing blood on the crowd and pretending to cut people's heads off and shit. So that's yeah, they're fucking rocking. Yeah. They're not one I listen to on the regular or barely ever, but one I really love to see live.
Yep. So now let's talk about some future events that are coming up, Brandon. I gotta ask you, we got Camp Zool 2 coming up. Can we expect to see you at Camp Zool 2 this year?
I fucking hope so, man. I might need a GoFundMe or fundraiser. I'll fucking sell a kidney or some shit. Somebody who eats kidneys. Dustin Plines, he eats raw kidneys, I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
So
get at least a couple $100.
Yeah, we're finding ways to make it happen. So I've been doing some part-time work as well, and working with another getting this music bingo app going with a good friend of mine and a team there. So that'll be something, I want to talk about in the end after this. But yeah, Camp Zool 2 is the goal. And if things keep happening, going on the up and up, then definitely. So I don't know if you or anybody else knows, but can I put this out and talk about that? I don't know how many people are here, but we had a kitchen fire this last month. And I talked to some people. It's crazy how many times that's happened, to other people as well. But that was a huge setback. Another unexpected thing. It setting me back on timelines, space. We talked about just space for mass in the studio. So a good portion of this floor is displaced into the studio. Everything's covered with smoke film and nasty shit, and just losing half the food and all that shit in the kitchen. So that's something we're still recovering from, but shit's kind of back to normal. That's why I'm in a new space again in my bedroom. It's a bit more comfortable here. I don't have anything out on the walls where I spoke to you that very first call we had. So that was a major unexpected setback, but luckily I was able to connect with this other company, Jindo, get some work for them. Stuff coming through with Bill, doing some Fun Time Guys masks, that's happening. So with closing that out, but it's weird. Then you have lots of plans, want to make this shit happen, and Camp Zool's in there, and you got these numbers laid out. And then the year starts and shit goes to shit, and then it's like, holy fuck, it's April already, and so that was a whirlwind of fuckery that came through, but luckily we were able to stop it, got through that, and bouncing back and definitely on the up and up now. And if we hit some of the work goals I'm looking at, then that will definitely be a possibility. So
That's awesome. I would love to see you at camp. I'm not sure if you've heard or not, but Bill has announced that this year's camp performance by the AXC is going to be something totally new. They've hinted at it. They've said that they're planning on bringing the blood. So yeah, that's definitely going to get interesting.
That's awesome. I said that to him when he was talking to me about ideas for stage shows, a while or like last summer, and I'd made something for that. I know you made a bunch of shit for that as well, and I was saying, man, and I was thinking about Gore as well, and I was trying to make it to that Gore concert. It's like, man, you should be throwing blood out there. There needs to be more blood and horror in these horrorcore performances, You're like, hey, get my jersey dirty. Well, fuck your jersey. We want blood.
Yeah, better bring your white T-shirt.
Yeah, we'll find a way to make it happen, and know some good people. Aaron Solon, Holly are always harassing us, and seeing Luke the Goon, seeing you there, being able to, maybe Tom will be there. I can see how tall he is and jump on his back like a spider monkey or something.
There you go.
Give him the props that he deserves for creating this to inspire the rest of that shit that happened. So,
The Godfather.
have to.
Shout out to Dom Productions, Tom Martino, The Godfather. He just recently had a birthday.
Yep, shared it with my ex-wife.
Nice.
Trying to hide from that day now.
All right, Brandon. Well, we've been at it for over an hour now, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I do want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a great hour discussing masks and movies and music with you. I'd love to have you back on again in the future. We'll let some stuff get rolling. You know what I'm saying? Let some art flow, and then we'll meet back up on here again and speak to the Zoolverse.
Yeah, definitely, man. Thanks for having me. It's been great to connect with you officially, kind of for the first time. Like I said, I attacked the ninja. Zool Jersey Devil ran up, kind of interrupted us. Shout out to him. Hopefully, he's like, yo, we have some shit to work out. And I'll be like, I've never met this man before. I want to talk to this fella. He's like, so.
Yeah, it was busy times. But before we go, Brandon, do you have any shout outs you want to give tonight?
Shout outs. Well, Jesus, baby Jesus, Satan, of course. Shout out to my big brother. I don't know. I've been kind of out of the loop. Just anybody who fucking says a comment or anything. Truly got mad love for all of y'all, and it's I know I'm not as active and engaging and stuff on social media. I don't do a lot of that shit as much as I should, but I see it. Lindsay B tells me about it, so check out them and the Dead Bitches Brunch. One thing I wanted to plug, if I may. So one thing I'm working on.
Uh-oh. Keep your peepers peeled, Zooligans.
I don't know if you see the UV shit happening. But between this and so this is all UV spirally, kind of inspired by Lizzie Gates.
Very nice.
And so this is still in progress. It's the most UV, colorful, intensive thing I've done, trying to challenge myself with that. But I'm going to be giving that away. New Bango is going to be coming out very soon in the next couple weeks. But save the date if you can. April 23rd at 9/8 Central. I want to get together a group of all of us from, hopefully you guys, fucking Dead Bitches Brunch, and in my Indie Raps page, kind of just pull us all together and have a chance to win a couple of these masks and some other shit, some other prizes we'll have. And this is music bingo, so it's not some random giveaway type thing. I'm going to upload a bunch of AXC music, bunch of horrorcore shit, connect with my friend who owns and runs Jindo and does that. So we'll all jump in on a Zoom call, and you pull up the game board. It's like a bingo card, but you're clicking the songs as they're playing, and that'll be the game that we'll get together for a chance to win some of these different masks and stuff. So that's something trying to make happen here to kind of connect all the different things that I'm doing. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, fucking anyone who's purchased something, the guys in Skankster's Paradise and Forever Face Alley, fucking all you motherfuckers. Dude, what you're doing with the alley is really fucking amazing, dude. So props to you for that.
Well, thank you, but I have to say, it's people like you, Brandon. Being a matchmaker and an all-around top-notch Zooligan that make the alley go. So, the alley is just a spot for everyone to come to, and we just try to keep it civil for the most part.
Right on, bud.
But we can only keep it so fucking civil, and then civil goes out the door.
I mean, we are a bunch of fucking serial killers and mask wearing fucking psychos and shits.
That's right.
We should talk about that more next time. The drama in the alley. I'm like, man, all this shit happened.
And we'd have to have 3 or 4 hours for that. So yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the Zooligans who turned in tonight. Much love to all of you. I want to say long live Evil. I want to say praise the Zooligans, and I want to say praise Zool. And make sure Zooligans, like Brandon said, you mark your calendars because he's got some fresh new masks he's going to be giving away. So keep your peepers peeled for that. And until next Friday's Power Hour, horns up, Zooligans. Love all you.
Eat your wife's pussy. Ah!